the lowest on my team. Anybody ever know that feeling? And I thought, I am going to get fired, or I need to quit or something, but I need to either get it together or I need to get out of the industry because I'm not serving my community, I'm not hitting my goals, I'm not serving my team. So I either need to get it together real quick or I need to exit the industry. So I started learning these language patterns. Within about 6 weeks, I went from being the lowest on my team to having the highest number on the team. And have you ever had like great month, low month, great month, low month? I was not always the top of my team. There would be people that had more people than me, but I was consistent. So someone else might have more and then they would tank. And then they'd have more and then they would tank. And I kind of got up there and then I stayed consistent for a year. So then they said, hey, would you teach whatever these things are that you learned, the patterns, would you teach them to our new people? So I thought, okay, great. I know it worked for me, but is this a repeatable thing? Will this work for other people? Well, within the first 6 months, the first team I taught became #1 in the state of Maryland. And by the end of the first year, they became #1 in the region. So that told me, okay, this doesn't just work for me, this actually works for everyone. And no, it's not me. I'm not sharing my personal track record here for the sake of it. I'm sharing that to say it's the patterns. So there's no reason that anyone here could not see the same success. So anyway, I hit a ceiling, came to real estate, and realized there was no training on the patterns. And I made it my mission to build a track record so I could have some street cred in the real estate industry. And became a MAPS coach about 5 years ago, and I've been teaching this ever since in a group program and coaching. So all that to say, this stuff works. And so I'm gonna ask you guys for the next 2 hours, put away distractions. I look at it as it's a holiday, which I did not realize when we scheduled this class. So thank you for being here. I was in vacation mode, not thinking, oh, it's a holiday. So thank you for being here. And also, I want to maximize the 2 hours we have, and I'm going to give you the best that I've got. So if we can put away distractions, that'll help everybody. Sound good? All right.
What file?
Oh, it's language pattern bootcamp. Yep. All right, and so what I want to hear from you guys is think through in your conversations or in your process from a new client all the way to closed client, what's your biggest pain point? And what I'll do is we will then choose language patterns that work with that pain point. Hey, raise your hand if you still need a handout. They have them. And if there's an extra, I'll take one. If not, that's fine. Okay. I love that we have so many people on a holiday that we had to make extra handouts. That's awesome. All right, so let me hear from you. And I'm the kind of person, an instructor, just speak up. I'm not real formal. So just speak up and share with me. So what is the biggest pain point? What would you most like to learn in our time together today? Yes.
My wife says that my pattern of speaking with people is interrogation.
Oh, interrogation.
That can't be good.
Okay. So basically, so I'm going to make that into like friendly conversation. Is that what you're looking for?
Relationship building.
Okay. Can you guys see this marker? It's kind of tanking a little bit. No. Do we have another marker somewhere? Oh wait, I think. Okay, that's better. Okay, yes.
So I drive Uber and Lyft for a lead gen, and I have been struggling with trying to like figure out how to turn the Ford model into a lead gen while they're in the car,
Okay.
without making it awkward.
Okay. Yeah.
Sales pitchy, because my ratings matter. And
Yeah. So we're basically talking about how do I take a normal conversation in the car into a real estate conversation without being weird.
Yes.
Okay. Which, by the way, one reason I love this class and the patterns is it's really a relationship class. So a lot of people that have taken this class have come back and told me, man, I can use this with my high school kids, or with my spouse, or with whoever, the people I work with. So know that we're going to point this towards real estate today, but really it's a relationship-based communications class. Okay, I've not only ever taught this in real estate, I've taught it in other places. So we're going to point it at real estate today, but as I teach it, think through how can I use this with my kids? How can I use this with the people I work with? Because it will enhance every relationship, not just real estate. Okay, so we have basically how do I ask questions in a relationship-based way? How do I turn conversations into real estate? What else? Yes?
When I'm talking to people, a lot of people say, oh, I want to buy something or I want to sell something, but not today, maybe like in a year. And then it turns into like next week an emergency. And it's just like
Yeah.
how to read that motivation time thing.
Okay. Yeah, great, yes.
A little follow-up on that, like kind of qualifying, like what indicators to look for is.
Okay. Let me ask you guys a question. So how many of you are familiar with Clifton Strengths or Strengths Finder? Anybody? So I highly recommend, it's not what we're teaching today, thank you. Yet I'll mention it because it's worth checking out. But just Google, there's a tool called Strengths Finder. You can find it on gallupstrengthsfinder.com. And it's an assessment you take and it tells you what you're awesome at. It tells you what your strengths are. So one of my strengths is customizing. So I'm gonna ask you guys a lot of questions today about what do you want, and then I'll just customize it. But I would encourage you, go take that assessment, it'll change your life. But here's my question for you, is normally in a longer class, we do a lot of role play, and then we're back, and then I teach, and then we do role play, but you don't get as many patterns if we do it that way. So there's value in both. So would you guys rather me teach and just give you as many patterns as I can, and then it'll be up to you to practice later? Or, oh, everybody's already telling me yes. All right, done. We'll just do lots of patterns today. I might have you do a little bit of practice, but we'll do mostly teaching. All right, let's do quickly anything else, and then we'll jump in. I thought I saw one more hand, yes.
I tend to blurt information as well instead of sometimes holding back.
Okay.
And when do I need to do that?
When, what to share. Is that a good way to put it?
Indeed.
By the way, I joke around, my handwriting is the primary reason I taught high school, not elementary school. You know how elementary school teachers have the prettiest handwriting? That is why I taught high school, my friends, right there. I do not have great handwriting. Okay, so let's jump in. So here's what I'm thinking. Tell me your thoughts. Let's start with the types of questions to ask. I know many of you have probably had training on what different kinds of questions are, but a lot of people that take this class say that took it to another level. So we'll spend a little bit of time on how to ask quality questions. Then we'll get into motivation, how to tell if someone's for real or not, basically, so you're not wasting your time or their time. And then we'll talk about how do you get people off a fence, which is still really a motivation conversation. And then we'll talk through how to create feature benefit statements so that when you share information, it doesn't sound braggy or like, let me tell you all about me. It'll be more tied to them and what they want. Does that sound good? Awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and turn in the handout to page 2. And the first thing I want you to write down, up there at the top, it says my role, and this is a big one right here. This hopefully will already be a takeaway. My role is to listen to what people want. My role is to listen to what people want, and then strategize and educate to help them get it. So this is the top of page 2. My role is to listen to what people want, and then strategize and educate to help them get it. And when you do that well, you will have enough sales. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. And you're really listening to what people want, and a lot of people don't move forward because of a misunderstanding. What are some common misunderstandings that people have about buying or selling a home here on Maui? Like, what are things that you hear and you think to yourself, you don't know enough, because if you knew this, you would realize maybe it's more possible than you think or something. Yes?
I'm gonna put 10% down on my investment property.
10% down. And so what's the education piece that fixes that?
It's gonna be more like 30.
More like 30. So they think they need 10% down and they need 30. Is that true? Yes.
Often I get, what are property taxes? And that is not a simple question to answer.
Okay, so property taxes are complex here. Okay. So these are things that people might not know that could be holding them back. And so through education, you could help them move forward, right? Or help them at least have a plan. Maybe it means they have to wait longer because they need a bigger down payment than they thought. But because you educated them, you'll be the person they come to when they're ready. Yes?
Frequently, buyers believe that this one particular unit at a complex is magic because it's grossing whatever $70,000 a year, and the one next door is grossing 30. They don't realize that you can do the same. Like there's a misunderstanding about the magic for a particular unit, and that drives that unit's prices up when the other one should be.
When it could maybe be marketing or pictures or
absolutely
reviews.
Management. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely, big time. Yeah, that's a great one. So yeah, so all that's education. So if you educate people, that might then propel them to move forward, where previously they thought, well, maybe I can't do it, right? So your job's to listen to people and then educate them to help them get what they want. That's the bottom line. What I like about that is if it doesn't make sense for them to move forward, I'm not gonna help them, right? And if it does make sense, I'll help those people. And so it's very relationship based, right? So in your own words, tell me what's a closed question versus an open question. And if you want to cheat, it's on the sheet. But you can also use your own words, that's fine.
Do you
Closed
like this
versus-
house?
What's that?
Do you like this house?
Yes, and that's a what kind of question?
Open.
Do you like this house? It's actually closed.
Oh,
Because
closed,
it would be
yeah,
yes or
sorry.
no. Yeah, so what would an open question be?
What do you
How do
like
you feel
about
about
this
this
house?
house?
Yeah, how do you feel about this house? Yes, awesome. So closed, and make a note of this. A lot of people say closed is yes or no. Is that what you guys think? It's actually anything that's a one word. So think about this for a minute. If I said, which side of the island do you want to be on? People would probably say,
West side.
west side.
South now.
And I'm seeing all the opinions come out.
That's why it's too much traffic.
I was actually curious. I asked that on purpose to see what happens in the room when I ask that. But the point is, they say one word, right? It's not yes or no, but it's still west, south, east. It's still closed, right? So open would be multiple words. And that's really what we want the majority of our conversations to be. Now I see a bold law here. Do you guys have bold come here?
Yes.
Do you have a hard time finding bold teachers to come here?
No.
I didn't think so. That was a close question. Tell me what is a good open-ended question to use in real estate? If maybe you just met a client.
Open question?
Open question.
How do you feel about this house?
How do you feel about this house? That's a good open question. What about their motivation? What could you ask? I'm having a hard time finding a smart girl.
When are you looking to purchase?
When are you looking to purchase? So we're gonna practice something here. And I'm actually not gonna make it about real estate. Can you all see this?
Mhm.
If you can't, just stand up because it's gonna be important that you see this. I'm gonna have you practice at least this today, if nothing else. So, have you ever had a call where you hang up and you're like, I totally nailed it. I was awesome on that call. Have you ever had that? I had a call like that a couple years ago where I felt like I totally nailed it and I did a fantastic job. Well, my coach always told me, listen to your calls, the ones that you think you need to improve on and the ones you think you did well on, because you need to learn from both. What you did well, you need to repeat. And what you didn't do well, you need to learn from and change. So I listened to the call where I thought I was awesome. And I realized I created an enormous amount of chaos on the call. I did ask a lot of open-ended questions, but you know what I did? Open-ended about this topic, open-ended about that topic, open-ended about this topic. And so I was asking tons of open-ended questions and I was jumping topic, okay? So I want you to imagine that we're in the yard right now and say that I tell a landscaper, I want you to plant a tree right here by the mailbox. That's the mailbox. I want you to plant a tree right here. And he says, okay, I think it'll take me maybe 8 scoops of dirt, maybe 30 minutes, and with the tree included, plus the digging, I don't know, maybe $200. Okay, great, do it. Well, what would you say if you looked out in the front yard a little while later and he had 8 scoops of dirt, but there was like 1 scoop there, and 1 scoop over there, and 1 scoop over there? What would you say to the guy? Yeah.
You know
I love how everyone here, by the way, I've learned is so kind and polite. So that was the slowest response I've had from a class. They're usually like, what are you doing? So yeah, what are you doing? And if you said, well, what's your problem? Give me my money. I did 8 scoops of dirt, which is what we agreed to. And you would say,
That's not what I meant.
yeah,
No.
it's not what I meant. It was ineffective, right? Like he really actually created more problems because now you have 8 scoops of dirt all over the yard. So he did it, but he did it in a chaotic way and actually made more problems than he fixed anything, right? That's what we do with our questions. So if you look at your sheet, do you see where it says on page 2, it says open beginning, start the conversation? I think of that like the first scoop. I don't know anything about you. I don't know anything about this buyer or seller lead, so I need to start the conversation somewhere, right? So I'm breaking ground on that open beginning question. Then I'm gonna dig. And the way to make sure that you don't go all over the yard, like how I just described, is you're gonna use a word that they just said in your next question. And we're gonna do it right now, okay? So I'm gonna ask, would one of you be willing to role play with me? And I'm gonna ask what caused you to get into real estate. So that's where I'll go with you, so just make sure you're okay with that. What caused you to get into real estate? And I'm gonna ask 3 questions to dive deep. Or I could ask you what caused you to move to Maui, because it sounds like most of you are not from here. So you can choose one of those. So who wants to go?
Randy will.
Do you want to, Randy? Are you good?
Oh, yeah, no problem.
So which topic would you like? Why you're in real estate or why you live in Maui?
How about why I moved to Maui?
Why you moved to Maui? Okay. So I'm going to pretend that maybe he's a buyer lead and I just got on the phone with him. Hello.
Hello.
Do we have another handout?
Underneath.
Underneath?
No,
No,
on
the
your
lectern,
podium.
under
Oh,
the lectern.
okay.
I'm sorry.
That's okay. Here you go.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. There's a C right there, it looks like. Or yeah, either right here. Okay, so I'm going to pretend that I just got on the phone with Randy. Thank you. And I don't know anything about him, and so I'm just going to ask him an open-ended question. Then collectively, as a group, we all are the agent. And our job is to take a word that he said and put it into our very next question that's open-ended. Okay? All right, so Randy,
Yes.
what caused you to move to Maui?
I fell in love with the general nature and the environment and the beaches.
Yes. By the way, I'm going to stop. I know that I'm genuinely asking you and care. As we go, I'm going to give instruction and kind of stop. If I were queen of the world, I would tell everyone to take notes exactly this way. I've been teaching this since 2006. I have not found, and I've asked every class I've taught, is there a way you can do this effectively in a way that doesn't require taking notes like this? And everyone agrees you have to do it this way. So as you talk to people, you're going to listen for what are the key words they're saying. Do you remember back in English class, the teacher said, look for the subject, underline the subject and circle the verb? I want you guys to be thinking, what are the most emotionally charged words they're saying or meaningful? So we said, I loved the beach, I love the environment. So I'm going to ask about that, okay? The other thing I'm going to do is every time I ask an open-ended question, I'm going to do a downward arrow. And by the way, this isn't in your notes, but I would somehow document what we're doing right here so you remember. The reason for this, I told you I listened to my recorded calls. Okay, so I started realizing I need to use their words in my next question. But then, I thought I was asking like 5 questions deep, and I was only asking 1 or 2, and I was perceiving we had gone a lot further than we really had. And you know how in Bold and in all the classes you ever take, they say ask at least 3 deep? So the arrow thing became my way to know, have I gone 3 deep? So every time I ask a digging question, I draw a downward arrow. And I do not stop until there's at least 3. So now, this fixes, and this is why I recommend taking notes this way, I'm absolutely using his words, and I'm making sure I'm going at least 3 deep. Does that make sense?
What's that first word?
General.
Oh.
Yeah, I apologize for my ignorance.
I apologize for my bad eyes.
Yeah. Teamwork. One thing I will say about this too is, have you ever had a lead or somebody say, I don't know why, I just kind of like you? That often comes from, like, if you're in person and they're standing this way, you can usually tell you're in good rapport with someone if they just naturally go this way. Or I've done it where I'm talking to someone and I realize, oh, we're standing exactly the same way. We're in good rapport. Well, when you're on the phone, it's words. So, true story, and then I'm going to come back to you. There was a lead that called Greenville, South Carolina, where I live. And where I live, would you like to know the price point?
Yes.
What's your price point here, by the way, on average?
$750.
$750.
Median.
So where I live, now this was 6 years ago. I bought a 2,000 square foot house on about a half acre for $150. It's a brick house. It's beautiful. I love it. So very different, right?
Yeah.
So a guy in California called me, and he said, it's so expensive living here in California. I'm an investor. So I've targeted Greenville, South Carolina, because it's an up-and-coming town, and you're so much cheaper. And my goal, listen to this, my goal is to buy 250 houses over the next 5 years. That will set up your career, guys, right? Like 250 houses. So I'm on the phone thinking, don't freak out. Don't screw it up. Just do the patterns. And so I fell back and I thought, just do the patterns. He's just like everyone else. He's a human. He wants me to connect with him. Just do the patterns. And I did this with him. And you know what he said at the end? He said, I talk to so many realtors on a daily basis. I work with them. I'm an investor. I've been an investor for years. You're the only realtor I'm willing to meet with. I don't know why. I just really like you. Well, I knew why. It's because I was using his words. And by the way, when you're doing this, you have to actively listen, right?
Yeah.
So I was using his words, I was going deep with him, we were talking about his motivation, why do you want to buy all the homes? And he ended up meeting with us. To this day, he's still buying houses with the team I came from. I wish I was still getting commission on all those. I'm not anymore because I'm off the team. But it works, okay? So that was like an interlude as to why I'm taking notes this way. Just trust me, okay? So back to Andy. Randy, oh, I'm sorry, Randy. You can call me Anna if I do that again. Okay. So general beaches, nature, and environment. As a group, let's ask him an open digging question, and you can cheat off page 2 if you want, or come up with your own question. But I need an open-ended question using one of these words that takes it further.
Do you like the beaches on the west side or the south side better?
Closed.
Close.
Yep.
What is
Okay.
it like about
What
the
is it
beaches?
about?
What is it about it that you like? Yes. So let's do that. What is it about the beaches, the nature and environment that you love so much about Maui?
Well, I moved here from Los Angeles and the beaches were nasty.
Okay.
I don't know beaches in Los Angeles, don't look at me.
Okay. So how will living in Maui with the nature, the environment, the beaches, and away from the nasty LA beaches, how will that impact you? And why is it so important that you're actually willing to move here?
Because it's very important to me that I live in a place where I can swim in the ocean on a regular basis.
Okay. So let's go back to the sheet. Thank you for sharing, by the way.
So are you 3 deep at this point?
No, because I've only asked 2 questions.
Got it.
I need at least 1 more. By the way, sometimes the third one is where the real stuff comes out. And you'll know, as you do it, you'll see what I mean. When I first learned this, I was like, okay, I'll just do it. And there's something magical about 3 deep. I don't have time right now, but there's a lot of neuroscience classes that talk about the magic of 3 questions. So you can always do more than 3, but never do less than 3, okay? So let's ask a question, and now I'm gonna take it a little further. There's a difference between logical and emotional. Logical is more which side, what beach, what do you like to do in the ocean, that's like logical stuff, right? Emotional is more about the why. How does it impact you? What does it do for you? What's the meaning of? What's the importance of? See the difference? So we want to ask an open-ended question about the why, okay? So we're going to steer away from which beach, what activities, those are open-ended, if they're logical. And we're not going to do that just yet, okay? So ask me an open-ended question, or ask Randy an open-ended question, about swimming in the ocean. What does that say? Oh, on a daily basis.
Randy, what would your life be like if you couldn't swim in these beautiful oceans?
Oh yeah, that's a good question. So what would it be like if you couldn't swim in the ocean on a daily basis?
I wouldn't feel like I'm in sync. The ocean is my therapy. It fixes everything.
By the way, I agree.
Yeah, you save a lot of money just doing that.
Yeah, that's true. Save money on counseling. So what I'm hearing you say, and now I'm going to repeat this back to him, and we could keep going. I'm just going to summarize this real quick, okay? So imagine you're talking to a lead, and it just told you all this stuff. Think about the connection that they feel with you when you do this, okay? So Randy, what I'm hearing you say is you want to move to Maui because you want to get away from the nasty LA beaches. Not dirty LA beaches, because he said the word nasty, and that makes us, I'm hearing you matching, right? You want to move away from the nasty LA beaches because you love the nature and environment of Maui. You want to swim in the ocean every single day, and it's because you feel in sync when you do that. It fixes everything, and it's like your therapy. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Is there anything else about why you want to move to Maui? And we'll just stop there for right now.
Yes, there's a culture that is very alive and makes you feel good.
Perfect. So then what I would do, I shouldn't have gone so far on this page. If I was doing like a 1-pager, I'd draw a line and do culture and just start working my way down. Make sense?
Oh, because you did the beaches and environment, he just switched to culture, so now you can do it again on
It's
culture.
like a whole new topic. And that's what you'll find. A lot, I saw your, 1 second, I'll come to you. A lot of times people say, at least where I live, I want to downsize. Or what's a common thing people say here that's kind of shallow about why they want to move here?
The homeless people.
It's beautiful.
The homeless people in California. That's I keep hearing that. Like,
I want to get away from the homeless people in California.
yeah.
Okay. But either one of those. The weather. It's beautiful. I want to get away from the the people in California. Whatever it is, it's kind of shallow, right? If they suddenly no-show my appointment, which does that happen here? Do people no-show you? If people all of a sudden just don't show up or they're not available for the phone call, if all I know is they want to live somewhere beautiful, I don't have much to go off of, right? But say that Randy didn't pick up for our next phone call, I could say something on the voicemail that says, hey Randy, I'm concerned about you because I know that it's really important that you swim in the ocean every day. It's like your therapy. You feel insane, call me back so I can help you do that. See the different power of that? It's very, very different. Here's the other thing, is a lot of times they'll tell you the shallowy thing because they don't know you, right? And you'll dig, and through this process, they start to feel connected with you, which is what I want, right? And by the way, this isn't, I want to be clear when I say, the goal here is to help people. Part of why I love real estate is you meet people from all over the world, and I get to help them with something that's really big and difficult. This gives me a tool to connect with them. It's not like a manipulation thing, right? But if I know how to talk to people, I can steward what I've been given in a better way, right? And I can serve them better. So through doing this, I find when I say, is there anything else? The second answer is usually, that's the real one. That's usually the real one. I'm thinking of a lead I talked to not all that long ago. And the first one was, I just need a newer house. And I dug through that. Okay, summarize. Is there anything else? Yes, actually, we really want to grow our family and I can't have kids. So I want to adopt. Well, our house doesn't meet code for the adoption. So it's better, like, it's more affordable for us to buy a new house than to fix the one we live in because it needs so much work. Well, that's the real answer, right? But it started off with, I just want a newer house. So now we have a connection. Now I'm more excited to help her because now I get the bigger picture more. Does this make sense, everybody? I know it's Monday morning and a holiday. Y'all are doing really great. All right, so here's what I do want to do because this is foundational. If you get nothing else out of this class today except for this one skill, I will have considered that a massive success. This is the most important thing I'm going to teach you today, okay? By the way, this works for objections. What about paying me commission concerns you? Whatever they say, keep asking questions using their words, okay? So here's what I do want to do. I want us to practice this. And not yet, so hang tight for the instructions. I do want you to cheat. You're absolutely allowed to cheat. That's why I made this. See how this is all kind of like one page? What I pictured is that you ripped this out and hung it up in your workspace where you do your lead generation calls. That's why I did it that way. What I want us to do in just a minute is get with a partner. Really, the person sitting next to you would be easiest because of time. And I want you to ask either what caused you to move to Maui or what got you into real estate. I would say one of those two topics. And you can say what you want them to ask you about. You can choose, but make it one of those. And I want you guys to practice digging deeper with each other. So you're going to ask an open-ended question to start the conversation. What got you into real estate or what caused you to move to Maui? Then you're going to do the same thing. You're going to write down their words. You're going to do the arrow thing. And you can absolutely cheat. I'm not worried about you going quickly. So I would rather have you go a little slow so you can pick a good question than to rush through it because you feel pressured for time. Does that make sense? Okay. So it's going to be kind of up to you guys to make sure you're in pairs of 2. If we end up with any pairs of 3, just wave at me so that I can divide us up. My friend Lori back there, raise your hand. By the way, we're here on vacation, and Lori just flew in all the way from South Carolina. It took her, how many hours? Like 17 hours? Yeah. To get here. She got in last night at 9. I think we got to
Welcome to Maui.
So Lori, if you want to do it, great. If you'd rather be a watcher, that's fine. And maybe you could ask her a different question. But thanks for coming, Lori. I'm glad she's here. All right, so let's pair up. And I'm going to give you guys about 3 minutes, and then I'll say switch, and then about 3 minutes. So just jump right in and take notes. Is everybody clear? Yes.
I want to be real because I
What question do you want to
don't want to keep fighting my own No, I don't want to. I don't want to.
Alcohol that I love about it. I love the beauty and the beauty and the air temperature. I just remember the way it felt on my skin.
Well, I feel a lot of time, so instead of like I don't want to be a prisoner of my
Getting a job.
Interesting there. So what was your
I worked for business on the website and became a manager when I was in the
I don't like to be honest. And so, being a president, I have an option of coming down.
Yeah. I think just meeting people and growing my body
Just always thought it was
Okay, raise your hand if you need more time for the first person.
Will we ever create my home?
And he's married.
Oh, okay, okay. So, what,
Okay, let me have your attention real quick. Let me have your attention. I don't know how to do the whistle. There you go. Alright, so I know you're probably not done yet, that's okay. I'm gonna have you guys switch partners. Did everybody get through at least the first person?
Yeah.
Okay, good.